Welcome to the Hero Power review of Rastakhan's Rumble. I am one of your hosts tonight, Zerotio, and with me is our illustrious co-host, Mattatarms. Say hello, Mattatarms.
Hello, Men at Arms.
Okay, so how we're going to break this down, this is going to be the first video that's going out to our patrons first. And of course, we're going to do the class reviews. By this time, you probably already heard our neutral card reviews on our last episode that we did out to the public of Hero Power. But we thought we would just do some stuff for our patrons. So we're going to do these class reviews in sets of 3. And then as the weeks go on, we'll roll them out to the public. So if you're listening to this and you wanted to get these a little sooner, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/heropower, join our wonderful community of patrons, and get access to our patron-only Discord where we talk about the game constantly, and especially busy during set release season, as well as some bonus content from time to time, like these videos. So today we're going to be talking about the Druid, Mage, and Paladin class cards. So let's, no time like a present. Let's jump right into it.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's start with Druid. And we're going to start out with a bang and go right into War Druid Loti. Playfully like Legend of the Innkeeper. I think this is their card. It's a 3-mana, 1/2 legendary minion with the choose one, transform into one of Loti's 4 dinosaur forms. So before we get into the forms, just based off of this, what do you think?
I think the fact that it's choose one of 4 is really interesting. I think it's one of those things that for a Druid Legendary choose one card, I think that's absolutely perfect. And once we get into the forms, the 4 forms are extremely versatile, each one of the forms. The first form is a Poisonous Stealth 1/2. Wow. Second form is a 1/6 Taunt. The third form is a 4/2 Rush. And the final form is a 1/4 spell damage +1. So what War Druid Loti to me is just a kind of jack of all trades, not really a strong card because each of these are kind of basic stat lines, but the versatility I think is what makes this card just playable in just about every Druid deck. And if you're a wild aficionado like me, she turns into if you have Fandral on the board, she turns into a 4/6 Taunt, Stealth, Rush, Poisonous, spell damage +1. So big old monster.
So this is the Fandral form. It is. I like that they gave unique art for this. It's really, really cool. The thing that's to note here is Loti herself, it is a herself, right? If I'm not, yes. Loti herself, as you see on the image here, is not a beast. So if she gets summoned or recruited in any way, she's not going to have any beast moniker, and she's just going to be a 1/2. But all of her forms, including the Fandral one, is a beast. And as we're going to go through these cards, there is a lot of beast synergy with Druid. They're kind of trying to push them into the beast synergies like Hunter, except instead of so much overall beast synergy, it's all about like big beasts and not just a bunch of beasts. Overall, what do you think of War Druid Loti?
Like I said earlier, I think she's one of those very good toolbox cards. She's good in just about every situation. If you need to clear a minion, the 4/2 Rush is really good. If you need to protect your board, a 1/6 Taunt is really good. If you are expecting a Mountain Giant to drop pretty soon, the 1/2 Poisonous Stealth is really, really good. I think this actually the weakest form is probably the spell damage, but this one that you'll drop on turn 7 with a swipe. So it's like I said, there's utility. I think she will see some play in a lot of Druid decks and some Druid decks. Just as utility form.
Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to point out is you just about put in almost every Druid deck swipe. And swipe's always been one of those kind of fringe AoE spells that just doesn't always do exactly the amount of damage you need, especially against swarm decks like Zoo or Murlocs.
Mm-hmm.
And with War Druid Lodi, you can have that capability. So I think she's good. I don't think she's great. I do like that and this is something you're going to see in all the Druid cards as we go forward. They're trying to make Druid do something different because right now Druid is top dog when it comes to ladder. And I think instead of giving tools that are just kind of across the board good for Druid, they're trying to put Druid in a different category. Mm-hmm. And saying that, we'll go to the next card, which is Gonk the Raptor. 7 mana, 4/9 beast. After your hero attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again, which it is referring to your hero. We saw this in the reveal, the last reveal play video with Brian Kibler and Dean Ayala. And at first I was like, it's kind of weak body or weak attack, definitely. And the mana's kind of high for it. You're pretty much just going to have to use your hero power. But seeing it in application, I think it's a little better. I don't think it's a great card. But being able to use the Druid weapon, the Twig of the World Tree, so you don't have to utilize your mana for your hero power. Plus, there's some other spells that will also give you some attack. I think this is going to be a decent card. What do you think?
I'm right up there with you. I think it's kind of like a fringe support card for that deck, for that kind of hero power, like that hero attack deck. I think like we were alluding to earlier, like Pounce is really good with this card. Ooh. I think just the fact that you can play this on turn 7 plus a 0 mana plus 2 attack card and do a little bit of damage on the board maybe, and finally hit swing face for 2. With Twig of the World Tree, like you said, it's really good with anything that buffs your attack in Malfurion form. This card is actually not completely bad either, because you do that 3 attack, and the fact that you do gain armor for the most part. You can gain armor, a good amount of armor in Druid. I think, like I said, I think it's a fringe card. I don't think the deck's there yet. I think it's something that it may be worth more paying attention to after rotation.
Okay. So that was our 2 legendaries, and we'll get into the epic cards. The first one is a spell for Druid, Stampeding Roar. Summon a random beast from your hand and give it rush. I think some people are sleeping on this card. I don't think it's going to be a great card that's going to be applied in a lot of Druid decks, but I think there's a build around deck, maybe using Charged Devilsaur or some kind of cheat out the rush cost or cheat out the cost of a big minion like Tyrantus, so that you could do other things with it with the remaining 4 mana. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this goes into like a big beast Druid deck. Even with Gonk, it's actually not bad either, because you can just pull him straight out. I don't think the deck, like I said, it's Tyrantus, probably even the 5/3 that summons a 5 attack or more attack minion that's really good with this. If there's some application, but I think the deck is very fringe, and I think actually it might see more play in Wild. The other application you have for this card is to pull the Hadronox out of your hand and rush it into something that, like maybe a Lich King to pop it.
Ooh, or something with poisonous.
Or something with poisonous, yeah. Or, so that you can pop your own Hadronox, but seeing that you have only one beast in that deck, are you really going to put a 6 mana support card for 1 card? I don't think so.
I mean, you put Witching Hour in that deck for 1 card, so I mean,
true.
I don't know.
True.
But you're right. True. Six mana is pretty hefty, and plus a lot of these new taunt cards, some of them are beasts, so you got to be careful there.
Yeah.
That deck is about the only one I think out of the new Druid decks that are going to get new cards, but we'll talk about more about that later, especially when we talk about neutrals. But we're jumping the gun there.
Exactly.
The next epic is a minion. Okay, so this is an epic 5 mana 4/4 minion, Tree Speaker. and it has a battle cry of transform your treants into 5/5 ancients. Now, when I first saw this, I thought of all the possibilities for a treant deck, and I got really excited. Before I tell you my second opinion on it, what was your initial thoughts on this card?
I thought this card was weird, but really cool. The first thought I had was more like Quartermaster in Paladin, where it's basically, okay, you're in a tree in your token Druid deck, you have a bunch of treants on board, and all of a sudden your treants are 5/5s, and they're huge. But I think the problem with they're huge, but the problem is it transforms. So those 5/5 treants then get summoning sickness, unlike Quartermaster, which basically you get 2/2 rush for every dude you make. So I think this card, this would go straight into Token Druid, but I don't think Token Druid would want this card.
Somebody else pointed out that this actually has anti-synergy with a card you would put in the treant deck, and that's the Mulch Muncher.
Yeah, that was me.
And that's why I was kind of softball lobbing that up to you, that I was really excited about it, and then you told me about the Mulch Muncher anti-synergy, and I was like, yeah, you're right, because in an ideal world, you would get your treants out, put your Mulch Muncher out, and then follow up with the Tree Speaker. But a lot of times, you can't pick what order your cards come, and you might use this, and they find a way to neutralize your board without killing the minions, freezing it or whatever, and you need a rush minion, a big rush minion, and Mulch Muncher just can't be played because now they're no longer treants. So I don't know. It would be neat if they counted towards the treants, but I really don't think they will because they're not like a tribe.
Yeah, well, there's no treant tag on the treants, and also the fact that, and also going back to the Quartermaster thing. You know how easy it is to make a dude in Paladin? You just hit the button.
That's true.
Know how hard it is? Know how easy it is to make a treant in Druid? You have to do a bunch of stuff. So that's why.
Yep.
That's why I think, and then there's the great play of you could play, mana, or was it living mana and this, and then all of a sudden you have no mana and can see.
Yeah, that was my next point is I heard somebody say, well, you just living mana, then the next turn if you have enough mana or you ramp up to it with Innervate, you play this and they're not 5/5s. Yeah, but now you lose all your mana because you're not buffing those to 5/5. They lose the death rattle that gives you your mana back. So that's also kind of anti-synergistic with treants. And then the other treant, the other ways to summon and create treants is just slow. I mean, 6 mana for 3/2/2 treants, or I think it's 5 mana for
5
2/2
mana
treants. That's they go into your hand, or it's just I'm not sold on this. I was at first, but I kind of grown cold on this card. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good.
So now we're going to get into the rares, and the first we're going to talk about is the Spirit of the Raptor. It's a 1-mana 0/3 minion, and like all the spirits that we'll talk about for all the classes, it has the ability Stealth for 1 turn. Now I want to stop here for a second because this is something unique, and it's kind of a unique kind of feature of Rastakhan's Rumble, is all the spirits have Stealth for 1 turn. So if there's any way you summon this by a random effect, it's still going to have Stealth. It's not a battle cry. It automatically happens when it comes into play. And then the ability on it is after your hero attacks and kills a minion, draw a card. So this is just like the Gonk synergy, where if you're using your hero powers attack ability, and this I like this card, and seeing it in practice during the reveal video. One of the things with these style of Druid decks that's reliant on is cards out of your hand to make these abilities happen. So all of a sudden you find yourself with no cards left in your hand. And this will allow you to use your face as removal, use your hero power to give yourself attack as removal and draw a card. And this is pretty useful. What do you think?
I think this card's actually really phenomenal, even without the card text, quite honestly. Using your hero power to get, finish off a minion and get a card is amazing. Mm-hmm. But a 0/1 stealth, 0/3 for 1 stealth on turn 1, and plus all the spells that Druid has to buff minions.
Yes.
Like Mark of the Wild, anything, just about anything, anything like that. This is a guaranteed sticker on turn 1 that you can drop a buff on it. This card is phenomenal.
So one of my favorite decks back in the day was Token Druid. Now, not Token Druid in the sense that you see it now, where it's about sticky minions and they recreate other minions, but more of you just straight aggressive, put a bunch of minions for cheap on the board, and just go face and use buffs. This card works perfectly with that. I might actually start whipping out the Feral Gibberers again and making that. I love Feral Gibberers and Aggro Druid, and making this again. This card here will work really well there. Again, I don't think it's like overpowered, but I think it's a very solid card for the class, and that's really what Druid needs.
Yeah. All these 1-mana spirits, I think, like there's a few of them in here that are just, I think they're good enough just as 1-drops.
Even the ones that aren't 1 mana, because the highest cost spirit is 4 mana, but they're costed that you could play them early game to set up the next turn. Now, does that mean that Mage starts putting more of its early 2-cost board clears out? I don't know. We'll just have to see how the meta changes because of these stealth spirits. But I really like them.
Yeah, I think this card's actually. I rated it a 3 on our spreadsheet. I might actually just not thinking about it with the fact that just as a 1-drop by itself and plus the card text. I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna bump it up to a 4.
I do think it's a solid 3. The way I rate them is if I would put this in most of my decks as a solid, what extra card do I need to fill the deck out? And I put it in there, and it's a class card. I usually rate them at a 3. Now, if I start by putting the card in the deck, it's probably going to be a 4 or higher. But if it's just one of those nice, reliable minions or cards for that type of deck it belongs in, then it's a good solid 3 to me. So moving on to the next rare, we have the Druid spell, 4 mana for Predatory Instincts. Draw a beast from your deck, double its health. So
go ahead.
I really want to like this card, and I did see it get used, and it pulled a Witchwood Grizzly, and the Witchwood Grizzly ended up being a 3/22, and it made me really like it.
Mm-hmm.
But unless a pure stompy beast Druid happens, I don't know how solid this card's going to be. And in your taunt Druid, you're not going to have any beasts other than Hadronox. You don't want to double its health, so obviously this wouldn't go in there. I just don't think doubling its health. Now, if it doubles its attack and health, then it's an awesome card. But for 4 mana, it is targeted draw, which means something, but I don't know. I just don't like the card.
I am high on this card, mainly for the reason what I saw on the stream. I think this opens up the door to actually putting Witchwood Grizzly into your Taunt Druid deck.
And have it be the only Druid? Oh, only beast?
No, have that, and have Hadronox, because if you draw both your Witchwood Grizzlies, well, you just drew Hadronox, and you're going to naturalize it anyway. And you're going to get...
But that means you're not putting Witching Hour in your Taunt Druid, right?
Yeah, I'm probably... it's probably where I'm... Yeah, it's probably where it's moving. This is going to probably replace Witching Hour for me. I'm not a big fan of Witching Hour.
So you're talking about a Taunt Druid where it's more about having a high quality of Taunt minions, not so much as a recursion of Taunt minions. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, something that like Hadronox is more of a finisher, because like once you pop your Hadronox, sorry about that, you basically are won the game anyway.
I could get that. I could get behind that.
So I think the fact that if you against decks like Paladin, against decks that are more aggressive, which I think this meta is going to be a little more aggressive, I think the 3/24 health actually will matter quite a bit. Okay. So the one of those things where you want that, and I think the 3/6 taunt, the Ironwood Golem is good. I think throwing in a Witchwood Grizzly is just as good, if not better. So I think, and the fact that they only run taunts up to like, after the Ironwood Golem, all up to, I think the next one on the list I think is our 9 mana taunts or 8 mana taunts.
Yeah, and I'll get more to that, and you'll probably have already heard me talk about that in the neutral cards. I think there's some neutral taunts that I'm not going to talk about here because we'll talk about it in neutrals, but they're really going to boost up Taunt Druid, and I'm really excited for that possibility of having those new neutral taunts in that Druid. And because if you go the way of having more beasts in and not using Witching Hour, then it's possible that that even more taunt minions from this set go in there, because you open the gate for those beasts. So that's a possibility. I'm not quite ready to warm up on this card, but I'm willing to try it in practice.
Yeah, I think this card's being a little slept on. I think then again, I also get high on very bad cards too. So it's one of those things where I think
that's true.
There's something here. There's something here. I think this card's really good. I think there's like, even with like Unasta or Undasta or whatever,
Undasta.
Just so the fact you have a 7/14 that pulls beasts out of your deck that can do it more than once.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or not your deck, but your hand. But you know what I mean. But it's like I think there's definitely something with this card, and if not this set, I think definitely after rotation.
All right, so getting into our next rare card, it's Mark of the Loa. It's a 4-mana Druid spell. A choose one. It's good to see more choose ones coming in. Give a minion +2/+4 in taunt, or summon 2 3/2 raptors. What do you think about this card?
I think this card is bad. I think I don't think there's enough value in this card. I think you're paying an extra mana for the choose one, and yeah, we said that about Branching Pass, but Branching Pass is busted. I think Branching Pass would be fine at 5 personally. But I think this card, I don't think Token Druid wants it, and I think this is like kind of designed for Token Druid. I mean, the 2/4 taunt it's kind of like Velen's Chosen. A little bit, so it's okay. It's not great, and the 3/2 Raptors for 4 mana and 2 3/2 Raptors for 4 mana is just like, it's bad.
I mean, it's costed because I mean 3/2 Raptor is that's a stat line specifically for a 2 mana minion. So I think it's costed well for 2 minions. I think it could go in token, but I think you put this in your Token Druid, and then you get up to 30 cards, and you still have 2 more, another card you want 2 copies of in the deck, and this is what you cut out of it. So I think it just barely misses the mark for that deck. But I like where they're going, and I would like more choose one effects, because I think that's the identity of Druid, and they've kind of gotten away from good solid choose one effects because of Fandral, which now Fandral is no longer in standard, so I think they can go back to it. But yeah, Fandral made it really hard to put good solid choose one effects, and I think maybe because Fandral's still in Wild, they don't want to go too crazy. They don't want to break Wild, and that's kind of a shame.
Well, Druid's also the worst class in Wild naturally after the nerfs, so I think they're looking for something.
That's true. It's amazing how it's so good in Standard, but in Wild, because of the nerfs, it's really bad.
I think this card would be a lot better if the +2/+4 in taunt was actually 4/2 and rush. I think the card would actually be almost too good at that level. I think
so. 4 mana for a 4/2 rush.
For 4/2 rush buff or 2 3/2s. The fact that I think that what turns me off on this card are the 2 3/2s. I think if they offered me 2 2/3s, I think I'd be higher.
Which is interesting because when you have 2 cost minions that are 2 3s and 2 cost minions that are 3/2, that's kind of vanilla stats.
Yeah.
And customarily the 2 mana 2 3s are more used in more decks than 2 mana 3/2s. So
yeah, I think I think the 2/3s are a little more sticky, and I think if you're going to play for the Raptors, the 2/3, the stickiness is what you want, and 3/2s aren't as sticky as they look at. They're not sticky at all.
And I think the reason to choose one is this way is because the 2/4 taunt is if you're needing a defensive line, and they're seeing the 2/3/2s as an offensive line.
Yeah,
but I can understand for the mana. I don't know. Just something. Maybe if it was 3/3/2s, maybe it would be too powerful. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's not good. I think we're spending too much time on this card.
Moving on. We have we're getting into our commons, and we have Savage Striker. It's a 2-mana Druid minion, 2/3, battle cry, deal damage to an enemy minion equal to your hero's attack. So I saw this card and immediately went, this is garbage. It's got vanilla stats, and the ability would require you to invest more mana into it with your hero power for it to even just do 1 damage. And I did not like it. However, I see it in the reveal stream, and they got a lot of use. Also today, today is Friday the 30th of November, and the pre-release party started. And I did see Regis Kilbin. He did a pre-release party with himself and a friend at one of the private parties, and he used this in some of the decks in the brawl, and it was rather useful. Now they were really restricted on their decks they could make, so maybe that's why it was so useful. I still don't think this is a great card, but I think there might be a home for it in the right deck. What do you think?
I'm with you there. I think Pounce, which we're going to talk about in about 2 more cards, I think, is one that will actually, I think, would make this card really good or good. I don't think you play this over. I don't think you actually put this in a deck. I think this is more like really good in like an arena situation.
Okay.
I think this. I think the 2/3 body. It's a 2/3 for 2. It's fine. It's it's one of and if you can hero power and do 1 extra damage, it's actually not bad. So, but that's also 4 mana 2/3 plus deal 1. So, there's a lot of work you have to do for this card, and I think that kind of turns me off on it.
Do you think this goes in the aggro deck to counter other aggro decks? Maybe.
Well, the fact that you can I think you can. The fact that you spend 2 cards or spend 4 mana, and you can pick off stuff and then swing in with your hero
to finish it off. Yeah,
to finish it off or take out another minion, another 1/1. I think there's something there, but I don't think it makes the cut in a constructed deck.
Okay, I can get behind that. I'm going to keep my eye on this card.
Yeah.
All right. Next card is the Ironhide Direhorn, 7 mana, 7/7 beast. Again, another Druid beast. With Overkill, summon a 5/5 Ironhide Runt. I'll be honest, I think this is an extremely solid card. If you're making just a big minion Druid that just puts big minions on the board and they're just hard to get rid of, I think this makes the cut. Also, if the Druid quest gets relevance again, this also makes the cut, because not only does this qualify as one of the beasts, if they don't kill it and it gets the overkill, the beast it summons, the 5/5 Ironhide Runt, will also give you credit for the quest. So I think this is a really good card. I think it's a solid 3 of the rating. I think that's what I rated it. I think this is a sleeper card, and I think it's going to be amazing in Arena.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely in Arena, it's absolutely amazing. This card's right on the edge of being like really, really good. I think the fact that you can cheat it out for 6 mana or pull it out with Undasta, because I think Undasta's busted. I think and then giving this rush or giving this the ability to attack something right away, and then having another 5/5 out it's pretty bonkers. Even just in a 7 mana turn play, and if you're a druid, that's turn 4 for everybody else. It's still really good. So I think if you're gonna mid-range beast-centric deck, I think this card is really good.
Yeah, and I'm gonna definitely keep my eye on this card. Another thing, and a lot of people don't really look at this so much when they're evaluating cards. This soaks up a BGH shot, meaning you can put this in a deck with other beasts or other minions that have 7 attack or more, and now your opponent has to choose, what do I want to use my BGH on? Do I really want a BGH that's a big game hunter? Do I want to use my big game hunter to kill this when I know he could have Lich King next turn? So this might soak up removal that could be used for minions on turns 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
I like this card.
I like this card. I'm okay on this card. I think it's good. I don't think I'll keep my eye out and I'll play with it because I think it's super cool.
All right, the next one, we've been talking about it over and over again because it's a decent card, is Pounce. It's a 0 mana spell for Druid. Give your hero +2 attack this turn. I believe I actually have this rated kind of low because I didn't like that it takes a card slot for something that really only helps you get rid of 1 minion. But as I've seen this in practice, I'm noticing that a lot of times with some of these abilities, like the Raptor we saw, the 2/3 Raptor, you can sometimes with your hero power in this card get rid of more than 1 minion, especially with Gonk in play. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think this card is really, really good, and the fact that it's also of all the main reasons we've talked about already, the fact that you 0 mana, turn one they Flame Imp, and you can respond with this, and then develop something else. For the 0 mana, but you're down a card. But so you can control that zoo board. Yeah. I think the really relevant thing is the fact that this is 0 mana, and there's the fact that Mechathoon Druid exists as a deck, and you're looking to put cheap spells in that deck for Gadgetzan Auctioneer to cycle.
Ooh.
So, you basically you're playing 1 mana spells. You're playing, Biology Project. You're doing whatever you can to get through your deck as fast as you can. You play this for turn 6. And, you have 2 attack, plus you draw a card, you get through your deck, all that stuff. So I think this even has, play in Mechathoon Druid, just because it's 0 mana.
Okay.
The fact that, there's two schools of thought with 0 mana cards. Either they're completely busted or they're worthless.
Yeah.
I think this one's towards the busted side of the scale. I think there's so much synergy that you can do with this card that I think this card will find a home in a lot of decks.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what people do with this card. So now we're going to get on. That is the end of our Druids. We're going to get on to Mage, and we're going to start with the legendaries. We have Hexlord Malakras. It's an 8 mana 5/5 Mage minion with Battle Cry. Add a copy of your opening hand to your hand, except this card. So if you keep
and the coin,
I'll get to that in a minute. If you have this in your opening hand, you're basically shortening what you can get with this. Now, a lot of people originally thought, well, this gives a huge advantage to people who have the coin. However, if you watch the animation, when you have the coin, you do have 4 cards in your hand. And then you draw, and then you have the coin added to it. Mm-hmm. So you will get those 4 cards, but you will not get the coin because your opening hand is just those 4, just the cards that are in the mulligan when your mulligan's complete. So you won't get the coin. I've been back and forth on this card. I don't like it. The biggest reason I don't like it is if this ends up in your opening hand, you reduce its value by an entire card. And to me, that's actually really huge. Also, in the deck that has this, picking what's in your opening hand can make you have adverse mulligans just for this one card's effect. And I think that devalues the deck entirely. So I really think this is a bad card.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this card's a bit of a trap. I think there's some scenarios where he's like, yeah, I can get more AOE, more single spot removal early on, or use my fire bolts, whatever, as burn later on. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this card is. Yeah, I think this card is just bad. I don't see anything. Even in wild Reno Mage, like you could have the dream scenario where you have Zola, Reno Jackson, and Kazakus in your hand. And you draw this on turn 8 after using all 3. And then you get all 3 of those back. But it's like you're winning at that point anyway.
And plus, in a singleton deck, what is the likelihood? What is the percentage chance you're going to have that combination of cards? Or even the combination of just having one of them in your hand. And if you have one of those in your hand, how bad is your start of your game? So that's exactly. It's almost like it's rewarding you for having a bad start.
Yeah.
And it's not enough a reward to even make you win the game. Now, before we move to the next card, I do want to point out that in a lot of these class cards, every class has 2 legendaries. And with the exception of Hunter, which we'll talk about in another video, they're both minions. One is your Loa and the other one is the champion, and they both play differently. So you'll see a lot of people really excited on the champion, but maybe not like some of the Loa related cards, or vice versa. And I think that's mainly just your play style. So that being said, we're going to move to the next legendary for Mage, which is Jan'alai the Dragonhawk, which is the Loa for Mage. It's a 7 mana 4/4 beast. If your hero power dealt 8 damage this game, summon Ragnaros the Fire Lord. I'm going to let that sink in. Summon Ragnaros the Fire Lord. Now, this is the second card we've seen this year that allowed you access to a wild exclusive card in Standard.
And in Mage.
And both of those cards are in Mage. So it's kind of like that time manipulation or, manipulation of the elements. This card to me is absolutely busted. I'll be honest. I am expecting this card to possibly get nerfed. There's going to be a lot of hate on it, mainly because Ragnaros Firelord is an elemental. Thus, if you play this out after you have Jaina Frostlich in play, your Ragnaros is going to do 8 random damage as well as heal your hero. Unless it hits a Divine Shield minion. That's such a swing that I think you're going to have decks built around this. Now, also, the battle cry is if your hero power dealt 8 damage. This does fit into Odd Mage, which allows with the hero power to do 2 damage. That's only 4 activations of your hero power instead of 8. Also, as we go a little further in this set, you'll see that there's more synergies with the hero power. After all that being said, what do you think about this card?
I love this card. I love the fact he's like, okay, let's just bring back some busted stuff from Wild. Like, Giggling Inventor before the nerf was like, it was cool because you got to see Onoyotrons again. I think, Toki is one of my favorite cards just because of the cool stuff you can pull out, even like the really bad cards. This card
Sylvanas. Sylvanas off of her is sick.
Oh yeah, but I think this card's really, really good. There's a lot. The fact that it's 7 mana also opens it up for a lot. Like you can, like just as a value game in an odd mage or even just a control mage, the fact that you can Zola her right after you play her, so you can have a double Ragnaros. Yeah, the obvious interaction with Jaina. The fact that it's just a big bomb late game that they have to deal with is phenomenal. I think this card is I think this card is sweet, and I think it's one of those cards. I think I'm almost obligated to craft gold because I have both gold and Ragnaroses. So,
Oh,
so, and I didn't have to craft them. I opened them in packs, which is even better.
see,
But
I've
anyway,
considered golden for her because I've seen her golden animation. It's really pretty, and I have golden Frostlet's Jaina, so it just would be,
yeah,
it'd be apropos.
yeah, and I think even just like even just in like a big spell mage, if you want to do that if you want to continue playing that deck, I think this goes in right in because of the same thing. You're doing 8 damage ping. You're doing 8 damage across the game, even just to the opponent's face. So it's the fact that this slots right in. This card's really good. I gave it a mediocre rating because I don't think Mage will be that great this expansion, but I think
I
think
can't
this
disagree
card.
with you more on that, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that more. I think Mage is going to be strong, and I think you're going to see people playing Odd Mage, which we'll get to the cards on that here momentarily. But I think Big Spell Mage is going to be in a fabulous spot, and we'll continue this discussion as we go to the next card, which is your first epic, Blast Wave, which is a 5-mana Mage spell. Deal 2 damage to all minions. Overkill. Add a random Mage spell to your hand. Now, this overkill is applied to every minion that's overkilled. In the example video, I think it drew 3 Mage spells, if I'm not mistaken. And I love this card, not only because of the overkill and the drawing mechanics, but it's at 5 mana. Now, a lot of people say this is a lot of mana for 2 damage to all minions. Now, this is all minions, so it includes your own. Mm-hmm. So you can set up a board state that will, with your own minions, that'll overkill. But this also slots into Big Spell Mage and doesn't devalue Dragon's Fury, which, can be a useful thing to have another set of board clear. Also, there are some cards that would go into a more control mage that maybe you need to take Dragon Fury out, and maybe this card goes in its place as an early kind of, board swing. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this card is really good. I think with spell power, this card just gets even better. Mm-hmm. Drop a Blood Mage Stalanos, you play this on turn 7, you basically do 3 damage to the board, and you also guarantee yourself an overdraw with overkill with Blood Mage.
Yeah.
So, so basically this card is a card that it's 5 mana draw, just think of it as like deal 3 damage, draw at least 1 card, which I think is great value. We paid 3 mana for the same effect in Gadgetzan, without the draw. I think, 2 more mana for the potential to draw 2-3 cards is amazing, especially in like a meta where I think it's going to be very board centric and very and kind of smaller, I think.
Also, in a meta where Paladin is playable at all,
this
the fear of this card will lock them down from not using their hero power at all. Yeah. And a lot of those Paladin decks, if you tell them to float 2 mana and not put out a 1/1 dude, you really slow their momentum down a lot. Mm-hmm. If they know that making those Silverhand recruits will just give you free mage spells, again, this card might be one of those that you tech into your mage deck because the meta supports it. If Zoo is a big proponent in the meta, or any kind of Paladin at all, then yeah, I see this having a home.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a one-off in most control mages, at least. I think, and then actually, I was just thinking about it. Pulling this off Glyph is really gross.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Is another reason to be one of. You do have to worry about your hand size, because if you're drawing 3 or 4 mage spells, you might end up burning your Jaina or your Geneli. So you got to be really careful with that. Mm-hmm. All right, the next one is a Splitting Image. It's a 3-mana mage secret. When one of your minions is attacked, summon a copy of it. All I gotta say is stop giving mage my hunter secrets. This sounds like it needs to be a hunter secret. Now, one other thing that's really weird is this now is another testing condition that you have to apply to secrets in Mage. And that's going to make it really, if there is a tempo mage or a secret mage that comes out of this, there are so many things you're going to have to do now to test for all your mage secrets. And that might be the biggest benefit of this card, is not its effect, but one of a million test conditions that your opponent has to do just to see what secret you have out.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. I'm high on secrets usually because I love secrets. I think they're probably the best mechanic in the game.
I don't like the secret.
I love this secret. I think you could set up some really gross conditions with this. Like if you drop Jan'alai and drop this behind it, and I think if you have, obviously you drop Jan'alai, you have Ragnaros on board. They're gonna have to try to trade into if they have to try to trade into that Ragnaros. Now there are two of them.
You now have two Ragnarai.
Yeah, so I think there's conditions. I think this deck. I think this is one that you definitely play from hand. I don't think this is one that you pull from your deck because there are cards that can pull secrets out of your deck and play them in Wild and actually now in Standard. Again, with conditions. But I think this card is really good. I think this card can set up a lot of cool stuff, and I love the fact that you have to now test for attacking a minion now.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I love the art on it where it's just a troll getting hit in the gut and like a spirit's popping out of him. That's kind of funny. Yeah. All right, the next one is getting into our rares. A minion, Pyromaniac. It's a 3-mana 3/4, good stats. Whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. Now, it's important to note, it's an odd cost minion. So this can go into your odd mage, which will be doing 2 damage with your hero power instead of 1. That being said, what do you think of this card? Is the draw card really worth that?
Yeah, I think this card's actually pretty good. It's a spider tank. It's 3/4. It's good. It's good stat line. It's really good on turn 3. And yeah, if you can next turn, hero power ping off a 2/2 that a 2 health minion, yeah, you draw an extra card. I think it's good, and I think Odd Mage is in such a place where I think it just needs good, solid cards, and this is one of them.
Cool. All right, our next one is rare Spirit of the Dragonhawk. It's a 2-mana 0/3, and it's one of the lowest spirits, so it has stealth for 1 turn. Your hero power also targets adjacent minions. In the demo video, the reveal video, this card was sick. There was an instance where one of the elementals that when your hero power does damage, supposed to freeze it. It only froze one of the 3 minions, and it was clarified on Twitter that was a bug and it would be fixed by launch. So anything that happens with those hero powers will carry over to all the minions. So if you target a 1/1 surrounded by other 1 health minions and all 3 die, Frostlich Jaina will give you 3 water elementals with this. This is sick. It is an even cost card, so it won't go in an odd mage, so that kind of lowers the value a little bit in that type of deck. But just in a control mage, this is awesome.
I'm not as sold on this card. I think, it's 3 damage for 1 hero power across 3 minions, and I think there's application for that, but I don't think it's fast enough. Quite honestly, I don't think it's not enough. It's 4 mana for basically an arcane explosion, a targeted arcane explosion, or a cold without the freeze. So I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah, like if you're not playing Odd Mage, I think this helps your Jan'alai situation a lot. And I think it might, if you're playing like a control mage, I think it might have a slot, but I think there are better options in that area for this card, instead of this card. So I'm not as high on this one.
Okay.
I think I think you'll probably have better options. I think if you're looking to do one damage across a spread, I think Arcane Explosion isn't that bad. That's
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with this card.
So you think there's better cards in that case other than having this
Correct.
minion?
Correct. I think this one's okay. I don't think it will see that much play even with Jan'alai.
Okay, the next card is a 4-mana Mage spell Scorch. Deal 4 damage to a minion. If you played an elemental last turn, this costs 1. Before I get to my thoughts on this, what do you think?
I think this is pretty good in a elemental mage. I think elemental mage has gotten so much push in this expansion that if it doesn't work, it's never going to work. I think this card really. I think the fact that between this and a few other cards like in this set alone, I think this is really good. And if you're playing more of a bigger spell mage with a little bit of an elemental focus, I think this doesn't hurt your Dragon's Fire Potion or Dragon's Fury that much because you have that 4 damage AoE, as your low roll. So I think, and it turns into 1 damage single target in your hand for 4, which is, people played a 2-mana 4 random damage in Mage forever when GVG was around. So I think this card, is super good.
I really like this card in Big Spell Mage for that reason, that it is 4 mana for the requirements of like Dragon's Fury, but it's 1 cost when you need to use it. So I like it. The next card is Arcanosaur. It's a 6 mana 3/3 elemental minion. Battlecry. If you played an elemental last turn, deal 3 damage to all other minions. I love this card. Reminder, it's an elemental, so this means that it will have lifesteal if you have Frostlet's Jaina out, and I think this card, in my opinion, will take the place of Baron Geddon in the Big Spell Mage.
You're stealing what I'm saying. I love this card. I think this card's really good. Like people were like, oh, LOL, Dustbreaker, but like you know what, Dustbreaker would still be played at 6 mana. That card's busted. And it doesn't have lifesteal. This one does. I think this one is really good. And I think this is the card that's going to push Elemental Minion Mage kind of over the top. I think there's...
And just to clarify, it doesn't have lifesteal. If you have Frostlet's Jaina, it has lifesteal.
Yeah. I think, but Elemental Minion Mage, I think, is one of those decks that like it just needs board clears because you're running a lot of minions just to keep the chain going. And I think with the other card we're going to talk about here very shortly, I think this card is really good.
Then let's move on to it. We have Daring Fire Eater, which is a 1-mana 1/1 minion. Battlecry. Your next hero power this turn deals 2 more damage. Again, can go in Odd Mage. I like this card. I think it's solid. What do you think?
I love this card. I think it's really good. I think it's going to see play in just about any deck with Jaina or Khadgar or Medivh as the portrait. I think it's it's a 1-drop that you don't play. You play on turn 3, but it turns into a Dark Bomb or a Frostbolt without the freeze. It's a really solid, good, like just weave it in their card, and it also with Jan'alai again pushes that Jan'alai train further down the station a little faster, and I think this card we'll see a lot of play, and it's a lot of utility.
Yeah, the turns this comes into play, your hero power does 3 damage because 2 more damage. So that's 3 points out of the 8 that Jan'alai needs. So yeah, I like this card a lot.
Or 4 if you're an Odd Mage.
That's true. 4 if you're an Odd Mage, which Jan'alai can go in. So the next common is Elemental Evocation. It is a 0-cost mage spell. The next elemental you play this turn costs 2 less. I like this card. We talked about 0-cost spells before, whether they either are busted or they're broken. And it's just kind of like a Farsight for elementals in Mage, and Farsight's used in Shudderwalk. So what do you think about this card?
Actually, I think the more apt description will be Innervate. I think this is really, really good. I think, like I said, this is a card that's going to push Elemental Minion Mage over the edge. The fact that this stacks as well, so you can get a 4-mana reduction on your next Elemental that you play this turn, so you can have a Blaze Caller, say, turn 3, if you really need it. It's a 6/6 on turn 3 that does 5 damage, maybe.
Oh, wow. So I didn't think about that, if you could play 2 of these. I mean, that's a lot of investment.
It's a lot of investment. You're kind of going all in, but it's also, at that point, that's also Edwin, too. You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's
very true.
Then there's also, I was doing a little deck building this afternoon. While now was not at work, sure. In Wild, there's a card that everybody loved at the time. It's called Flamewaker. 0-mana spells with Flamewaker that also makes minions in your hand cheaper if you're going that route is kind of ridiculous. I think this card...
I didn't even think about Flamewaker. That's actually really sick.
Yeah, so I think this card is really super good, and I am looking forward to going to town on some elemental style mage that can cheat some bigger dudes out.
Cool. All right, well, let's go to the next mage card. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the last mage card. We'll go on to Paladin. So we're going to our third class Paladin, and this is the Paladin Loa. Shrivala the Tiger. 25 mana for a 7/5 beast with Divine Shield, Rush, Lifesteal. Cost 1 less for each mana you've spent on spells. I love this card. I saw it used today in some of the pre-release videos at stream that Regis Kill was doing. And this card is fun. Also, I haven't gotten clarification. We haven't tested it. How it works with Holy Wrath.
It'll hit for 25.
It'll hit. Okay, so that's if it hits for 25. There are lots of shenanigans to be held with this card, and I can't wait to try them.
Yeah, I think this card is a really good Paladin tool. I think, even just playing your standard kind of mid-range to slower Paladin, I think we'll see this card being played. I think, with the fact that Spike Ridge Steed plus Blessing of Kings is enough. That's 8 plus 12. That's 20. So you'll see this for 5 mana. That's good enough if you play all those spells.
Yeah. And again, it's a reminder. It's 1 less for each mana you spent, not number of spells. So an 8 cost Paladin spell will reduce this by 8 mana.
Yeah. So I think, and the fact that just this in your deck with Corpse Taker, you'll get the Lifesteal, you'll get the Divine Shield, you'll throw taunts in there because you're playing Paladin. So you'll have Sunkeeper Tarim because you're playing Paladin. So that's the taunt. That's 3 activators right there. If you want to throw a Wind Fury in, great. So, makes Corpse Taker even better. I think this card is super good.
Corpse Taker, that's really good.
Yeah, this card's super good.
Wow. Now on to the next legendary. High Priest Thakal. 3 mana, 3/4. First off, great stat line. Battle Cry. Convert all but one of your hero's health into armor. This card is everything I've been asking for Paladin for years. Ever since Tyrion was pretty much the strongest Paladin, and we just have gotten dud Paladin Legendary after dud Paladin Legendary. Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle, and Sunkeeper Tarim are kind of exceptions to that. But other than that, we really haven't had any good Paladin Legendary minions. And this is busted. If you could find a way to copy this with Baleful Banker or Gorgon the Zola, Zola the Gorgon.
I like
Zola.
the cheese reference better.
Yeah. It's nuts. Now, I haven't tested it, but theoretically, there's also a card we're going to talk about, Timeout. If your minion becomes immune in any way, I don't think you get armor, because you don't actually lose the health, so it won't work. So I don't know how that works. We'll have to play science with it, but I think this is probably going to be the best legendary in the set. Don't at me. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think this card's pretty good. I think it like in the deck that I think it wants to go in. I think it's super good. Um, I think the fact that if you draw this on turn 3, you and start healing, and you basically can start healing, and just basically it's like gaining all that armor back, all that health. Basically just stacking on the health. I think, I think, and like even the deck that they showed on stream, I think like even without this guy, I think there's enough tools in Healadin to make it work, especially with some of the later cards that I was really low on earlier before I saw the other cards. I think this is just a really good, and it makes some of those legendaries that you call buffs like Glass Knight even a lot better.
Yeah,
because the biggest problem with Glass Knight is like you play it on 4 or 3, and like there's no way to reactivate the Divine Shield when after the Divine Shield gets popped.
Yeah, because you're at full health. That's the biggest thing about Healadin that's been a problem. They pushed all this healing synergy, but you're at max health, so none of the healing synergy works. But this on turn 3 basically is a 3 mana 3/4, but just gives you all of your health except for 1 available for healing effects. So it opens the door for Healadin to work. And you essentially can, with the healing effects in the deck, can end up doubling your health. And that makes this card just busted. I'm really
also
excited.
Your wild postscript, you can play this on turn 3 and play Molten Giants along with it.
Yep, and then shortly follow it up with Reno if you want to run a singleton Paladin deck. Now I want to play Wild.
It's a better format.
You could run this with Molten Giants in a deck as well as running the Holy Wrath combo.
Yeah. 20 mana Molten Giants plus 25 mana Shrivala, makes Holy Wrath a lot more consistent, which is scary as crap.
Moving on. I could talk about this card for 2 hours. All right. Our first epic is Immortal Prelate. It is a 2 mana 1/3 Paladin minion. Death Rattle. Shuffle this into your deck. It keeps any enchantments. Now, enchantments aren't just spells. It's anything that's added to the bottom of the card. So if you have buffed this with any other minions, it will also keep those effects as well. I like this card. I think it's a staple. It's also a silence magnet. Everyone says, oh, silences are becoming more prevalent in the meta. It's just going to get silenced. Sure, silence this so you won't have the silence for my Spike Ridge Steed target or any of the other umpteen minions in my deck that I don't want silenced. I'm fine if you waste your silence on a 2 mana minion. What do you think about this card?
I'm okay on this card. I think it's okay. I think playing a 2 mana 1/3 is really awkward if you don't get it out early. There's also some anti-synergy with equality. Like if you really need to clear a board and this is out there with equality in Pyro, well, now this is going to be a whatever attack is on there 1 minion when it dies and goes back into your deck. So it's like, so there's some interesting thoughts with this. The other kind of synergy that makes this really kind of interesting in the deck is, and we're going to talk about, we talked about it, we're going to talk about it, or am talking about it with the Undertaker. That this will make the Undertaker go back into your deck, and also, when you draw it back out, it also get 3 more Death Rattles, plus the Death Rattles I had initially. So there's some really cool synergies with this.
Didn't think about that.
That's like that's also like Magical Fairy Christmas Land synergy, but also I think this card's pretty good. I think, and the fact that it's a silence soak, so that like your Tyrion, your Lanessa doesn't soak up that silence is It's pretty good.
My favorite thing about this is a lot of times when you see minions with effects similar to this, you say, well, you don't want to throw it out on 2. The thing is you can throw this out on 2, and if they clear it, it goes right back in your deck.
Yeah.
So if they have to run a minion into it and kill that minion as well, you've all of a sudden 2-for-1'd with this card because you get it back. It's kind of like the Spectral Tiger.
And also all the buffs come out with it with Call to Arms too. Keep that in mind.
Oh, because it's not a battle cry.
Exactly.
It's baked into the card. Oh, I didn't think about that either.
Yeah, so this will make Call to Arms back kind of playable again. I think this will make. I think there's a lot of hope for this card. It's just a lot of the plays with it are really kind of on the slow side.
Cool. All right, the next epic is a new challenger. It is a 7-mana Paladin spell. Discover a 6-cost minion. Summon it and with Taunt and Divine Shield. We're going to be talking about the Spirit. It works really well with the Spirit as well. But just on its own, I love this card. There are some dud 6-cost minions. I get it. But it's a low percentage. And there are some really good, like Karen Bloodhoof. Really good 6-cost minions that could get pulled by this. And having Taunt and Divine Shield added to them. Plus, this is 7 ticks off of your Servala the Tiger. I think this is a great card.
I'm hot and cold on this. I think it like really depends on what I'll get for my Discover options. Like if I get offered like Sunwalker, I'll be pissed.
Yeah, I mean that's weak.
Yeah, but basically, I think this has a home. I think it's a really solid card, and I think, you'll get better. You'll get some pretty good options on it. I'm not sure we'll see that much playing constructed, but I think it's a good card.
And a reminder, it is Discover.
Yeah.
So you'll get 3 chances. So all 3 would have to be really bad. And you can lose the value, like if you get Sunkeeper Tareem off this as a choice, and it's the best option. You only get Divine Shield, and it's a 3/7 taunt with Divine Shield, where he's already a taunt. So some of those 6-slot minions don't really get the value of having the taunt and or the Divine Shield, but there are a lot that do. And like I said, Perfect World, Karen Bloodhoof would be great. Actually, and in Wild, this is a pretty solid card too.
Yeah, I think your best option here, I think your best choice off Discover would probably be Blackguard, the 3/9.
Oh yeah, Blackguard.
Especially in a Heal-It-In, that's pretty gross.
Oh yeah.
So I think I think there's a place for this in a really slow Paladin deck.
Cool. All right, moving on. We have our first weapon that we're seeing. It is a Paladin weapon, rare. Baraki Battle Axe. It's a 5-mana 3/3 weapon with Overkill. Give a minion in your hand +2/+2. I want to like this card. I think it's the 3 attack at 5 mana. I worry that there's not going to be anything to Overkill. Obviously, you can equality with this and make sure you get the Overkill. Getting your hand buff minions buffed, especially if they have like charge, can be really beneficial, but I think too many times you're going to get this on a utility minion, and it's not going to be all that great.
Yeah, this card's bad. I think this card's really bad.
I want it to be good, don't get me wrong, and I might try to find a way to make it good, but I think that 5 mana slot and 3/3 weapon for 5 mana is not bad. It's just not great. This is an Arcanite Reaper.
I'd rather play Valinir.
True. I mean, again, it's a 6-mana slot, but Valinir is a better card. I think this wants to be Valinir and just isn't.
Yeah, I think this is the post-rotation Valinir, and it's probably not even going to be good post-rotation either.
Yeah. All right, the next one is the Zandalari Templar. It's a rare Paladin minion, 4-mana 4/4. Battle Cry. If you've restored 10 health this game, gain +4/+4 and Taunt. I think in the Heal-It-In, this is a staple card. It's a good, solid card. I love it.
Yeah, I think and a Healadin that's even like kind of more aggressive Healadin that like maybe runs like a Heal Zoo package with a bunch of stuff that hurts you as well.
Mm-hmm.
This card's pretty good.
You want to
I think this
complain about
card's really good.
You want to complain about a 4-mana 7/7? This will be a 4-mana 8/8 with taunt.
Yeah, actually, also interesting to note, if you decide to heal your opponent or any of their stuff, it counts towards that 10 health.
So it's just if you don't have to restore 10 health to yourself.
Hero. You could literally like cast Lay on Hands on your opponent's face, and you could literally like activate this guy.
I guess the wording on that makes sense that way. It's not if your hero has restored health. It's if you've restored. Okay. Yeah. That actually raises this up even some more for me. I like it. All right. The next card is the Spirit of the Tiger. It is a 4-mana 0/3 Paladin rare minion. And it's a spirit, so it has stealth for 1 turn. After you cast a spell, summon a tiger with stats equal to its cost. Yes, please.
Yeah, this card's really good. This card's super, super interesting. Like, even with coin this into Blessing of Kings the next turn on this, you get a 4/7 for 4. You get a 4/7 and a 4/4. It's really good. This into Spike Ridge Steed, even put Spike Ridge Steed on this, you get a 6/6 and a 2/9 with taunt.
Yeah,
Death Rattle, summon a 2/6. There's it's even like a Consecration makes a 4/4, Equality makes a 2/2 or a 2/1. I'm not sure which happens first. So I think the Equality happens first, and then the 2/2 is summoned. So I think that helps. So I think.
The thing about this card to point out is you can't low roll with it. You're not getting like a minion of that cost randomly. You're getting a minion with those stats. So if you do use a new challenger spell, you'll get the 6-cost minion with Divine Shield and Taunt alongside a 7/7 Tiger.
Yeah. Sick. Or Dino Size.
Oh my gosh. Dino Size turns a minion to 10/10 and then summons an 8/8 Tiger.
That's pretty good.
That's really good. Lay on Hands. Oh, it's just the value out of this card is ridiculous. And
actually even like what is it? Prismatic Lens, summon, draw 2 cards, swap the cost, and summon a 4/4. It's there's a lot of good Paladin spells that are run. And I think I think this goes right in there.
And what is the chime the bells?
Oh, sound the bells. Just sound make a bunch of 2/2s.
You just make a bunch of 2/2s, and you can buff as those 2/2s come up. Buff them too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, great.
Not bad.
Great value out of this card. All right, the next one we're getting into our commons. It is Time Out. It is a Paladin spell. This was revealed fairly early. Your hero is immune until your next turn. Means you can't take any damage. Also works if you play this and then, do anything that would damage yourself, like attack with your face into a minion. You will not take the damage.
Play Crystallizer, gain 5 armor.
Yep. Play this, play Crystallizer, you gain 5 armor, and it doesn't do 5 damage to you because you're immune. Great card. I think it's going to be a solid, at least a one of in a lot of mid-range to control Paladin decks. It's also really good at setting up a combo for the next turn. Yeah,
this card I think will make a lot of people angry at some point later in the game. Yeah. I think oh geez, I was about to finish that Paladin and then he played this stupid timeout. It's ice block for 3. It's ice block that you proactively play.
Yeah.
So I think you're playing this when you are ready to set something up, or if you okay, I can beat you next turn even if you'd attack all my minions.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's some really solid application with this, and I think it's a really interesting card, and I think it's super good.
Yeah, I like it. Now we have Blood Claw. It's a 1-mana 2/2 weapon, common weapon for Paladin. Battle Cry, deal 5 damage to your hero. I like this. It's a way to get early damage to yourself. Also, a 1-mana 2/2 weapon is just good stats. It also enables the Healadin even more. Take that damage so you have something to heal to then get all the benefits from the healing. Yeah, I like it.
I like it a lot. The only like downside I think is like, yeah, you take 8 damage from a flame imp, but then again, you also remove that flame imp, you know, on turn 1. You know, this reminds me a lot like if you remember a warrior card back in the day, Curse Blade. This reminds me of that, but like Curse Blade is actually such good tempo in Wild right now that it's actually being run in Pirate Warrior. So I think this is like I think this is a much better version of that because, you know, you dictate, okay, I take 5 damage plus the damage I'm taking from minions. Plus all my stuff this set also heals me. So, you know, and the fact that, okay, now Corpse Taker becomes a lot better at 4 mana because if you have Lifesteal on it. Because a lot of times when you drop Corpse Taker on 4 with Lifesteal, you're not healing for anything.
Something as well. I just thought of. Light Warden become popular in Heal Zoo because you have a way to damage your face. Maybe Light Warden has a spot in a more aggressive Healadin style deck, kind of like Shakadin was back in the day.
Oh yeah, I think this goes in odd. I think this straight up goes in odd Paladin.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, absolutely. I think.
And then you slot in Light Wardens and
you slot in Light Warden. You slot in Happy Ghoul. You slot in Fungal Enchanter. I think, you know. I think actually odd Paladin might get a little more aggressive. Sorry, for Zika.
Even more aggressive. Oh no.
You know, so I think this, this card slots right into that. I think it slots into that mid-range Healadin that we were talking about that, you know, they're kind of moving towards. I think, you know, the fact that you can play a 1 mana 2 damage weapon and swing for it twice is super good. It's 4 damage for 1 mana, and you only did 5 damage to yourself.
Yep.
But you most likely heal, and you have cards that, yes, Pudgy, I know, that will synergize with that heal, especially the Spellstone. The Spellstone with this card is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about Spellstone.
So yeah, there's some awesome synergies with this card, and I think it's super good.
Cool. All right, and then we have Flash of Light. It's the common Paladin spell for 2 mana, restore 4 health, draw a card. I think it's going to be a staple in Healadin. It's nice early heal. You draw a card with it. I don't hate it at all. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good card. It's, 2 mana for a cycle is right on, 2 mana for a cycle. It's good. I think, the plus a little bit of heal on top is outstanding. I'm a big fan.
Awesome. And that's going to do us for all the cards. That is all of the Druid, Mage, and Paladin cards. Just after this first review of the first 3 classes we've done, where do you see these classes in the new meta coming with Rastakhan's Rumble?
I think Paladin got a lot better. They got a lot of tools, and I think the diversity of Paladin will improve. Mage, I think is okay. I think the odd Mage will be a deck that pops up. I think Big Spell Mage will continue to be a thing. I don't think there's any there wasn't anything for aggressive Mage this set, and I'm actually perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
Druid, I think, honestly didn't get a whole lot. It got a couple really good utilities, but I don't see them improving or changing much of the existing decks that they play with any of these new cards.
I pretty much have to parrot everything you said. I agree. I think that when the set rotation comes in April, in the spring, and your sets from last year, Year of the Mammoth, phase out, and that's what Ungoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs. When those phase out, Druid are really going to have some good, solid cards to stay in contention, or they're just going to flop. Because the decks that exist now in Druid that are dominating, the ladder, not so much competitive play, but the ladder, they may still be around in this meta. Now, does that mean the other that it'll be the top dog? We'll just have to see. I think Paladin has a good chance. I love OTK decks. I love combo decks. I think Paladin's going to be right up there that list. So, of these classes, I'm most excited about Paladin. I'm excited for Mage. I haven't been excited for Mage in a while, other than Big Spell Mage. And, you know, I might try Druid out because Druid's been my least. It was one of my favorite classes back in the day, but it's just been not fun to play. Not fun to play against, not fun to play with, and I'd like to find a Druid deck that's just fun to play. Maybe Treant Druid happens, and it's fun to play. So that's our takes on the first three classes. We will be doing other reveals with we're going to swap out the hosts a little bit here and there, but that's going to be it for us today. So for Mattatarms and for myself, Zerotio, and the rest of the Hero Power crew, Avantis and Versika, we want to thank you for this review, watching this review. And if you're a patron, thank you so much for supporting the show over at patreon.com/heropower. And we hope to have more patron content, exclusive patron content out to you in the future. Have a good night.
Bye, insect.